Hello everyone, welcome to Down and Dirty. Today we're going to be working on the JL and we're going to be doing a track T-slot mount for the dash for phones, tablets, whatever else you want to attach to it, cameras, what have you. So ramp mount makes the setup, and they actually make a kit for the JL to attach it, but it was always on back order and I managed to find just the T-slot rack separately on eBay, so I purchased it and I'm going to make my own mounting system, which actually is going to be a lot stronger than what they have to offer, or I think what anybody else is offering right now. Let's get started. Okay, this is what we're making up. This plate is going to be cut for this track to go in it, and we're going to make our own mounts instead of these plastic ones you can buy. We're going to make those out of steel. We're going to use some box tubing to make our angled part here that goes to the contour of the dash. I'm going to use, I've got 3M double-sided tape I'm going to put on mine as well, plus the screws. And we're going to put this base in, and the base is going to attach to the top plate, and then the rail is going to screw to the top plate, and the top plate basically is going to cover the opening of the dash. So this part right here of your dash, and your JL dash comes out. It's just an insert. Take it out for wash it, whatever. Doesn't make it much easier to clean than having it in there. So once you remove that, you can see where you have a factory screw right here. The one on the other side. This is the bevel I was talking about that I'm going to match up. I'm going to use that box tubing in place of that. And then we're just going to cut steel to fit this contour. We'll make one for each side. All right, here's the piece of steel laying on top. You can see it's a width that I need, but we're gonna have to contour it as well to go around the outside of this, because I want to cover that entire opening so we don't get anything down in there and have to worry about it. Okay, traced around each one of these pieces for what we are going to cut out. Okay, so this is the dash insert. I traced around both ends of it, what I need to cut off to make the piece of steel basically match the contour. And it's already cut the correct width to overlap. So what I drew out was about the same amount of overlap, but probably just a little bit extra, so I can grind it smooth and make it all look pretty when I get it done cutting it out. Okay, we're gonna get this piece cut out. Okay, I'm just going to take and grind, round this nose off here, round and knock off all the edges with a grinder. Do some grinding here. Now we'll see if it fits in the dash. Okay, so here's our plate. Fits in there very nice. I made marks there where I need to notch out for that groove. I'm gonna split box tubing, weld it in there to fit into the groove, to put the factory screw in to hold it, help hold it. Okay, now we got to cut this square out, which is a little bit difficult with a 1/2-inch blade. But I'll show you how I do it, and we may have to do a little bit of filing. Well, I'm sure we'll have to do a little bit of filing when we're done. We'll get the majority of it out there. Okay, there we are. Cut a square out. We'll do a little bit of filing on it, clean it up, get the rough edges off. Okay, now I got to split this box tubing. Basically, we want to end up with 2 V's. Going to set like so into the bracket so it lays down into the actual V of the dash. We can drill a hole through here, put our factory screw back in. Okay, we're going to TIG weld these pieces in. So hopefully I can get a good shot on this. We're going to tack weld this first and then take it over and make sure it fits. There we go. Nice, pretty tack. It's a nice thing about TIG weld. You get nice, pretty little tacks, nice, pretty little welds too. All right, take us over and test fit it. Okay, let's see if we can get some weld on this thing. There we go, it don't look bad. I seem to have contamination coming from someplace though, because every time I end a weld, it's got porosity in it. Okay, I've drilled all my holes in my plates. This one right here, there's a factory screw in the dash that you have to remove to install this. So that hole is for the factory screw. Then we're going to add 2 more additional screws just to help support the weight. Okay, I just marked off where I'm going to drill holes in these. And these are for a flathead screw to come up from the back, the bottom, and then we're going to thread these into that flathead screw like so. And then the top plate that we have that goes on the dash with the T-slot is going to have another flathead screw that's going to screw into this from up top. That's how the plate's going to be held on. The top plate's going to be held on to these bottom plates by these threaded extensions. Okay, like the other holes I drilled, which I don't think I got on video. I guess I didn't hit record. Once I had it focused in, I didn't start the camera, apparently. That happens. So anyway, what I use is this is spring-loaded center punch. It's got a sharpened tip on it. It's got a spring in it. Once you push it to a certain point, it cocks and fires. Show you real quick here. Put it where you want it, push down on it, and when you hear it pop, it makes a nice little center point to guide your drill or whatever you're using so it doesn't walk off from where you wanted it to be. Then, once you have a nice center punch hole, use these. It's called a center drill. It's a rigid short bit with a small tip. Actually, these are different sizes for different size drills. This is the one I would use for this size of a hole. So we're going to use this as our pilot to drill our center punch. I always use this for drilling and tapping everything that I do. It's a wax. This stuff's awesome, especially for tapping. Especially if you have to tap into something that you don't want shavings to go down in. This wax will hold the shavings in the flute of the tap. So I just take and just run it in there, get a little bit on it. Line it up into your punch. Make sure you don't have any fingers underneath. And drill till it goes through. That gives a pilot for a larger drill, so your larger drill doesn't walk around, because drill bits will walk around really bad. They're very flexible. Smaller drill bits are flexible. I'm going to clamp this to drill it. So anybody with experience knows a drill bit, 1/4 inch size, will grab a hold when it's going through, and it's not something you normally want to try to hang on to. Clamp the part down to something or put it in a vise. Okay, now we're going to use this tool, chamfering tool, counterbore tool. We need to do that from the back side because we want to countersink, because the bolt is going to be, needs to be recessed to mount this into the dash. Typically you want to run these at a slow speed. This is a single cutting edge. Don't want to run it real hard or real fast, burn it up. We're going to have to go until the bolt goes flush. I'm going to say that's close enough, so I'm going to put that tape on here. We just won't put it, we'll just cut a hole out for where the bolt head goes, if we want to anyway. So if you look at that, it's not quite flush, but it's not really going to matter, because I'm going to want to be able to, might want to be able to put your Allen wrench on there to put your other piece on top. Okay, so this is what I was after. Got a flathead screw in here. This is our standoff extension. We're going to have a screw go in from the top, from the upper plate, to tighten up against this. All right, this is what I ended up with. That flathead screw. I couldn't countersink it anymore because I was out of threads to go into my threaded standoff extension. So I tightened it up as tight as I could get them, and then just ground them flat. Here's the other one. I've got the double-sided tape applied to it. That's one of the reasons I decided that screw is going to have to be flat, flush, ground down, what have you, so we get enough tape surface on here. So once we get ready to install this, just peel off the orange backing, and that's that double-sided 3M trim adhesive tape. All right, here's the pieces bolted into, screwed into the dash with that single factory screw. Haven't added the other two yet. We'll do that soon. Okay, what we're doing now, we're going to go from this surface to this surface with a straight edge. Give me a mark on this because it has to be cut off. I'm going to cut it off just slightly lower than what my mark is, so we can bolt our plate flat on top here with our T-slot, because I want it bolted down flat and flush onto the dash. Okay, see where I cut that off? I'm going to take a grinder and smooth it off. I'm going to take that countersink tool and put another bevel into the threads. Okay, this is the top plate that the T-slot screws onto. This is what we're going to screw into the two bases that we just made. I need to get the ends cut on this now. One end cut. I'm going to use these and mark the other end, because I like the way this one looks better than the other one that I drew, because I just hand sketched them both. Okay, here's our brackets all done. Got them all painted up. Get them installed. So we'll be peeling the backing off of the double-sided tape. This is going to be final permanent installation, and then we're going to get the top plate finished up so we can get this rack installed on it and finish this up. Okay, here's what I got. I got my plate in place. And if you'll see that pointed looking screw, I took a 1/4 screw, ground it to a point, did 2 of them, one for each side. So I can mark exactly where those are in the plate that's going to cover all this up. Okay, so here's our plate. See that little pinhole right there? That's from that pointed screw. And there's the other one. Right there. That tells me where my holes need to be drilled in this plate to line up with those pieces that it's going to thread into to hold this on. Okay, so what I did, I lined my track up on my metal plate, right where I wanted it, centered it, held it in place right where I wanted it. And I have a transfer punch that I'd already inserted into one of the holes. And this transfer punch has a point on it, and they come in all different diameters to fit in your hole so it perfectly aligns the punch to the center. And when I got it where I wanted it, I just hit it with a hammer. I don't know if you can see that, but we got a punch mark, just like what I was getting from my spring-loaded center punch hand unit that I have. Now we can make that larger with it. These center punches, you don't want to beat them real hard and try to make a really deep punch, because you'll end up damaging the tip, and you don't want to do that. You won't be able to use them for a long time. So you just lightly tap on it, get your mark that you need so you know where you're at, then you come back and make it deeper with another one. See that punch mark there? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to drill and tap that so I can put a screw in, a single screw in. And once I get a single screw in, it's going to hold it where I want it on this end so it can't move around. We'll come down here and I'll punch this opposite end, do the same thing so I can get 2 screws in it so it can't move around. And then we'll punch all the rest of them. Because if you try to just hold this down, and I can't really clamp it, it's a plastic, you're not going to get all your holes lined up. So we're going to do one first, get a screw put in, we'll do a second one, get a screw put in, and then we can just do all the rest of them after that. This is what I'm going to use. It's a drill and a tap in one. It works great for thinner metals like this. Doing 1/8" plate, I wouldn't want to do a whole lot heavier. You can, but you got to be, thicker it gets, the more careful you have to be. But it works great for 3/32. So we're going to do this 1032. It's what our screws are. These are our screws. They were just a standard zinc plated screw. I've already spray painted them with a textured black paint that we're going to use for the whole thing. Okay, again, this is where I use this edge lube. Excellent for this tapping. Just take your tap of your drill, run it in there, get it coated. And as it gets hot, when you're using it, it'll melt. So once the drill goes through, the tap starts. You want to slow it down. Be careful not to break it off. So right there you have a drilled and tapped hole in one shot. Just like that. So we're going to bolt this down. Transfer punch to the next one. So we've got that end tightened down right where I want it. Center this end up where I want it. Put our center punch in and hit it. there's our next hole. So we'll get 2 screws in here, then we can just go and hit all of them, all the rest of them at one time. Okay, here's a finished top plate. The rail goes in. Got everything drilled, tapped now. Counterboard. And get it painted. Okay, so here's the finished product. See the plate that I made? The rail screwed onto it. Got a ram mount, phone mount on there right now. This came out very nice. I'm really happy with it. Very strong. Won't have any bouncing around from the phone, or even if I put a 8-inch tablet up there that I tend to use. These things, you can just loosen them up, slide them around, because this is a rail. Just slide it around, put it where you want. You can add more of them if you want. Right now I've always had this ram mount, the one that I purchased, actually not sure where I got it from, that screws into the grab rail there. That's where I normally put my tablet. I'll use my tablet to control and operate my action cameras. So really pleased with the results. Looks really nice, super clean. One thing I did do that I didn't mention, I glued felt to the bottom of that plate of steel. So when I tighten it down, it's felt against the plastic rather than metal against the plastic, so we don't get any squeaking, rubbing, rattling, any kind of noise at all. We shouldn't have, because it was going to fit really tight anyway. But then that way, if you take it off and don't want to use it anymore or sell the vehicle, it's not going to be all rubbed or scratched up from the metal to plastic surface. Okay, well, that concludes this video of the Ram T-slot track mount that we installed on the dash on JL. Basically just bought the track separate, and put a part number for that down below, and also the part number for the T-slot balls that you need to put in the track for all the attachments. Put that down below as well in the comments. I think it came out really well. I'm really happy with it. Very strong, obviously. Made it out of 1/8-inch plate steel, so it's not going anywhere. All right, well, thank you for coming. Like, subscribe, share, comment below. Let me know what you think. Take care. Appreciate y'all.